What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So today we are back on the bug. We are trying to get this thing to stop. On the last video that we did, I could not get the brakes to bleed. Got a couple comments from y'all suggesting to replace the master cylinder, so we do have a new master cylinder that we're going to put on. Also have new front wheel cylinders that we're going to put on as well. Cleaned up all the hardware that was on the drum brakes, so we're going to get all that installed back. We'll throw some more grease on our bearings, and we'll try to hopefully get this thing stopping today. So that is the game plan. If I still can't, we might put some gasoline on this thing and light it on fire and see what it looks like, because that's how aggravated I was at the end of the last week's video. So make sure you guys like the video, subscribe, share my channel if you have any friends that you think might like this as well, and also leave those comments down below. I really appreciate the comments, whether it be on Facebook or in the comments on the video. I greatly appreciate it. So let's get started. Let's get to work. Let's get this thing to stop. All right, so real quick, I showed y'all last time kind of how the master cylinder came off, but I wanted to point out you want to make sure that you put clamps or vice grips or something on your hoses that drain down from your top master cylinder so you don't end up with a puddle of brake fluid down here. So I'm not going to record taking the master cylinder off. Talked about that on the last video. It's just the 2 bolts on the inside, and then we just take off our brake lines and those hoses, and it should come straight out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, get this taken off. We'll get the brake light switches switched over, and then we'll get the new one put in. And then while we're waiting on the brake fluid to make its way down through the tubes and basically bench bleeding the master cylinder on the car, we'll work on getting these front drums and everything put back together while we're waiting on that to get all the air out. All right, so we got our old master cylinder off, and so now we're going to install our new one. Let me grab that. All right, so our old one right here and our new one. So we will get these installed, or get this installed, and we'll do it right now. So I'm gonna try to show this on the video. One of the first things I noticed when I pulled the brake light switches off is the fact that there is a lot more fluid in the back part of this. It's hard to see, but alright, status update. We got a new master cylinder installed. I was able to get all of the air out of the master cylinder. I definitely think our problem was the master cylinder, because once I installed this and started letting fluid flow down from the tank above into the master cylinder, it did more than drip. It was coming out of both of those ports pretty fast. So that definitely makes me think something was going on with that other master cylinder. So hopefully this thing we can get this thing bled and be able to stop. Also, just another thing to show you that this is definitely working way better, is you can see that I already have brake fluid dripping out of this front line. So that is a good thing. So I'm gonna put these front brakes back together, put our new wheel cylinder in. You can see I got brake fluid running around in here, so we're gonna need to clean this. Alright, so let's get this wheel cylinder on first so we can stop this from leaking all over the place. Alright, so we got that on, so let me go get my parts and we'll get the rest of this on. And now that we have the other wheel cylinder on, now the brake fluid is coming and leaking out over here as well. So gonna go ahead and pull this tire off and put the brake cylinder on this side as well so we can get all the fluid. We're still looking good up here for our reservoir, and I got a bottle right here ready to refill it. Alright, so we got that on. So we'll quit leaking fluid everywhere. Now we can get the rest of our brakes put on. I am going to go ahead and put new grease on the bearing that fell out on the ground 2 times now. Just clean it off, make sure it's good and greased up. Alright, so let's go ahead and throw these brakes back together. So these little adjusters here, clean them up real good. Put some grease in there so they're really, really smooth. Throw those in there. I'm going to make this a lot easier to adjust. Now these brake pads, they do have a smaller end at the top and a bigger end at the bottom. You can kind of tell a difference on there. So the way that's going to go is going to go with the bigger end up at the top, and this adjustment home, and the smaller ends at the bottom. So you're going to have your fat end at the top, small end at the bottom. Put your spring in there, and then you're going to put your little cap on. Push it in and turn it. And do the same thing over here. Put our spring back on here. Like that. My little springs on the bottom down here. Popped out. Let's try that again. So next up, we will put our bearings and stuff back on, and then we'll put our wheel and drum brake back on. So I'm gonna go to the other side and we'll put the brakes together over there. I'm not gonna show that. It assembles the exact same way that this does. All right, so now to do one of the things I hate most, and that's repack bearings. It's just so messy, but it needs to be done. So best way to do this, and I'm only gonna show y'all on one, just get a big chunk of grease and throw it in the palm of your hand right here. Grab your bearing and just start shoving that grease in. And once you think you got it in, I always pull this back out, put it back in the palm of my hand, and continue to go on around. You want to make sure you got grease pushing through all of these holes here. So like right here, you can tell there's none here, so we're going to keep working over here. Until we get it pushing up through there. You see how it pushed up through the top. You want to just give it a good look over. Make sure you have grease coming through all your bearings. And I do. So this one is done. So I'm gonna put this one on the Beetle. Just don't want to leave it sitting anywhere. And then I'll do the other ones off camera. But that's basically how you grease up one of your bearings. Okay, so you can see I've got our bearing on there. I also put our little cap on the back part back there that's going to seal to the back of the hub and the disc brake. I'm sorry, the drum brake. I greased up our shaft here. There's also a cavity inside the races that the bearings sit on inside of the drum brake assembly that you're going to need to pack with grease as well. So I already did that, and then you're just going to want to put grease, a good amount of grease on the inside races of this. You can kind of see there that I got it greased up pretty good, and then the inside of that is packed in between the races with grease. So we're going to go ahead and put this on. After we adjust our brakes down. So our brakes are too far out, so we're going to need to bring them down. So I'm going to do that real quick. Okay. All right. Now that we got that on, we'll put our outer bearing on right here, and our washer and our nut. And then we'll readjust the pads. And our washer going on there. And then we'll put this on. You want to get it just right, so you don't want it to bind. So I think that's pretty good. I don't have any play. You can hear the brake pad in there scraping, but I think that's good for our bearings. We're going to tighten this sucker down. Right, now we can adjust our brake pads a little bit on the back to where they're just rubbing, and then we'll back them off. All right, so we got that tight. Now we need to get our caps. We'll pack our cap with some grease and we'll pop that on there, and then we can try to bleed the brakes. What we've been waiting on all day for. All right, so I spent about 20 to 30 minutes bleeding the brakes. I got fluid through all 4 cylinders with no air bubbles coming out. The brake pedal actually feels like a brake pedal. Just me and the old trusty bat wedged between the pedal and the seat. So now it's the moment of truth. We'll fire this thing up, back up, and we'll check the brakes to see if they work. They should. Alright, so it does stop, which is 100% better than what it did, but the pedal's still not very firm. So I believe what I'll do is I'll get a helper out here and we'll bleed them all again just to make sure that I got everything out. I think it'll be a lot easier if I have someone out here to pump it, hold it when I release it. You can move a little bit quicker. And hopefully that should get the rest of the air out. Apparently there is still a little air in the lines because my pedal is kind of soft, so I want to firm that up. And I think the way to do that is to get the rest of the air out of the lines. So other than that, I'm happy. Got the the front end put back together, the wheels, the brakes put back together. And now I'll just get someone to help me repump and bleed those to just make sure I get every bit of air out. And then we will be good to go. All right, so we bled the brakes some more. We're stopping. I backed up and back forward and front a couple times and we're stopping. So we are going to attempt to drive this thing out of the backyard for the first time ever. So hauled it in on a trailer so we can see if I can drive it out of the backyard. Yay! Woo! Alright, we went around the block and back. I'm excited, I'm happy. We'll move on to the next step after I get this done. And thank y'all for coming along for the ride and for your support and everything, getting this thing going. I really do appreciate that. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you guys on the next one. God bless.